Despite being mistakenly recruited to serve as a straightforward healer, he is more powerful than the mythological heroes. Yasuto is a pathetic, repulsive, and ugly high school student who has no real-life experiences. Here's Suzian, the president of the student council, suddenly asking him what's going on. He acknowledges when she asks whether he is without an umbrella, even though he feels uneasy in her presence. Yasuto interprets her announcement that the school would soon be closing as a cue to hide his hideous visage from her. He makes up his mind to go, but the stunning and ideal president stops him, informing him she won't allow him to get wet. Vice President Kazuki, the stereotypically ideal guy, shows up out of nowhere and says he would give Yasuto his spare. When Suzian inquires about their friendship, Kazuki responds that they are classmates. They've never spoken before, so Yasuto is perplexed at first, but then realizes that he's just your average gross kind person. When Yasuto thanks him for the umbrella, Kazuki inquires as to his proper name. Stepping in between them, Suzian informs him that she will call him as well. Yasuto, the heartless loser, flushes, assuming she's making a pass at him. He can't believe he gets to walk home with the cool kids when they ask if he wants to walk with them. As they stroll, Yasuto informs him that Kazuki only chats to females and other women after he accepts the arrangement. Kazuki responds that he only responds to the inquiries from the girls. Suzian makes fun of Kazuki's fame, while Yasuto tries his hardest. He talks on how Suzian is practically a goddess. Yes, he doesn't spend much time in his mother's basement. Suzian describes herself as an average student. Suzian and Kazuki abruptly halted upon hearing a bell. Yusato queries what's going on, looking perplexed. Yusato says he didn't hear the bell when Kazuki asks whether he did. Yusato is still unable to hear the bell, even though they can hear it considerably louder this time. As he approaches, out of nowhere, a magical circle materializes beneath their feet. As Kazuki begins to lose it, Yusato blurts out some information. They are being called to a different reality. Kazuki believes this loser is insane, but they are shocked by Suzume's response. She asks, smiling, whether he means that they will arrive in a world where magic, monsters, and heroes abound. Yusato is impressed by Suzume's affinity for that stuff in those final minutes. They awaken a few moments later to discover themselves in an unfamiliar space. They turn to glance around and notice a strange old dude seated on a throne. Kazuki is unaware of this place and its inhabitants, while Yusato is perplexed by them. When he goes looking for Suzume, he finds her beaming and excited since this is a different universe. He believes she simply lost her mind. The elderly man occupying the throne is content that they were able to awaken and everything. However, Kazuki sneeringly queries, "What's the big deal?" The rascal presents himself as Lloyd, the Linger King. Suzume is pleased, while Kazuki is perplexed. Suzume is even more delighted when the old man says that they have been called upon as heroes. The king continues to explain the same absurdities. A demon ruler has risen from the dead and is gathering might. For the last 2 years, the kingdom has been under attack, and they have barely survived. Their only remaining hope was to use the illegal spell to call heroes from another universe to battle the Mim. Every time Suzume learns something new, she always seems so happy that she orders him to stop making jokes. He even accuses the monarch of being self-centered for bringing them here and carrying out the grunt work. The king tells him that it is not feasible to return them to their realm because the summoning is only effective in one direction when he requests them to do so. Kazuki goes on with his way of caring and noting that everyone has families and other things. The king responds that they are hopeless, but Kazuki doesn't give a damn. The soldiers aim their arms at him as he grows more irate. After Yusato makes an effort to soothe him, Kazuki eventually heeds some wise counsel. After finishing the task, the king approaches Kazuki and bows down before him, pledging to find a means to send them home. Suzume queries the king about the reason behind his dubbing them heroes while the others kneel as well. Welsi, the king's mage, is asked to clarify. She discloses that the summoning spells search for individuals who possess the capacity to become heroes. To put it simply, there will be a bell ringing for everyone who has that capacity. Suzume and Kazuki are aware of the condition, but they also keep in mind that Yusato is unique. He replies that he didn't hear anything at all, which indicates that he arrived unintentionally. After that, they enter Welsi's room to test their magical prowess. To determine whatever magic they can employ, all they have to do is touch the crystal ball. As Welsi gets ready for the test, Suzume is quite excited. Kazuki inquires of Yuzato whether he is okay with everything in the interim. Yuzato replies it's okay because Welsi had assured him that even though he couldn't play a hero, he could probably still utilize magic. But Kazuki is discussing being forced into this realm against his will. They didn't even want him in a situation. Yuzato brushes it off, saying that's all he wanted. Suzume is the strange one, according to Kazuki, who also believes that Yuzato is being quite laid back about it. They perceive her as a normal eccentric and believe it to be true, to the extent that Kazuki believes this to be her optimism. Although Yuzato is aware that this is untrue, the crystal ball begins to sparkle. Welsi set everything up and instructed Suzume to begin her test. A happy touch causes a yellow glow to appear on the crystal ball. This implies, Welsi explains, that not only does she possess an enormous quantity of mana, but she can also employ thunder magic. Although Suzume appears joyful to Kazuki, Yuzato understands in her heart that this magic fulfills her fantasy. The crystal ball turns white as soon as Kazuki touches it. Welsi clarifies that he possesses a light quality. Suzume gets really excited and starts telling him to use things like a laser beam. However, Yuzato orders her to quit being a nerd. She admits that she appreciates that in a man after becoming irritated because Yuzato interrupted her. Yuzato is devastated. She was, in his opinion, the ideal female. Yuzato chooses to give it a try as well, but something appears green. Suzume and Kazuki ask Welsi's color to be both lovely and soothing. What quality is that? Still, Welsi is going crazy. She rushes back into the throne room after grabbing Yuzato's hand. Confused, the king queries whether they have previously had their aptitudes evaluated. Welsi affirms, pointing out the enormous potential of Suzume and Kazuki. But Yuzato, there's a problem. The monarch asks if he has the ability to control darkness or anything else while laughing. But when he finds out the gem turned green, he's astonished. Welsi clarifies that his quality is incredibly uncommon. However, the king orders her to be quiet and not say it. Yuzato feels perplexed, believing that his quality is negative. The king begins to scheme, saying that they have to get Yuzato as far away from the castle as they can. But he doesn't believe that any place is safe. Perhaps they ought to hide him in the town for a little. A woman is moving through the hallway in the meantime. The king gives his guards orders to get ready. However, Yuzato claims that he is unaware of what is happening. He queries whether he is a threat and whether anyone else shares his traits. The king answers yes, looking alarmed. That individual is not good news. Everyone is startled as the woman enters the throne room abruptly. The king was referring to this individual. If the heroes are already present, she queries the king about the success of the summoning ceremony, asking if it's not her off day. The king tries to act nonchalant. She won't, however, take a day off. She then wonders if Yuzato is the hero after noticing him. Fearing for his life, Yuzato retreats and the king reveals that he was unintentionally called upon with the heroes. He refers to Yuzato as a typical pleb. However, she can see that the king is perspiring. She addresses him by name and says she's Rose, the squad captain for the rescue. However, it is obvious that Yuzato is aware that she appears to be someone who should be killing rather than saving. She will take Rose there, he says, adding that the heroes are waiting by the crystal ball as he steps in to stop her. Rose acknowledges that and gets ready to go. The king, happy that everything went smoothly, orders Yuzato to take it easy while they decide how to handle this predicament. Although Yuzato agrees, he is curious about the meaning of his magic characteristic. He asks, naively, what a green light signifies. Rose stops when she hears those words. Everyone in the room begins to lose their mind. Rose asks whether he mentioned green just now as she turns around. After receiving Yuzato's confirmation, she informs the king that Yuzato will accompany her. The monarch becomes frightened and orders Welsi to remove Yuzato from the area. Yuzato is compelled to leave the castle after Welsi uses a spell to surround him in a bubble. Still, Rose beams and bolts outdoors at her breakneck pace. The bubble that contains Welsi escapes the window and attempts to carry him as far as it can outside the realm. Rose, nevertheless, is able to catch up to him thanks to her strength and speed. The bubble is then burst by her punch. Rose, though, is able to reach and grab him. She shouts out to the king and breaks down her fall with the help of a statue. She turns to go, promising to make Yuzato a legitimate healer. The king yells for her to come back, saying he is aware of her desire to enlist more healers, but Yuzato was unintentionally called. Rose ignores the king and keeps moving forward. Welsi tells Suzume and Kazuki that Yuzato was taken after going back inside. They fear that he may be in danger. but Welsi assures them that he is not. Kazuki is seeking clarification. She tells the rescue team that he was removed from the castle. She discloses that Yusato possesses healing magic. Rose is one of the few healers in this realm. As all of this is going on, a fox girl notices Rose carrying Yusato to her base under her arm. Welsi goes on to say that Yusato will essentially learn all Rose knows from Rose. Susan believes that to be rather typical, but Welsi adds that Rose uses unconventional training techniques, which implies Yusato will spend eternity in hell. Rose tells Yusato he has the ability to become a healer after they arrive at the facility. She explains that he will be living here going forward, which is why she brought him, and he seems somewhat perplexed. She then calls the other members, and Yusato notices they are essentially a group of bandits after taking one glance at them. Even though Rose tells them to look after Yusato, they all treat him as a serial killer. He tries to flee, terrified, but as soon as the guys introduce themselves, it appears more like a heist. Rose, however, pushes Tana aside since Yusato is sobbing in terror. They express dissatisfaction while pointing out that they made a polite introduction. They are not healers, although Rose clarifies that they are all members of the squad. The two healers she has left on her rescue squad are actually stationed somewhere else. Therefore, she will be the one teaching him about healing magic herself. Yusato panics. His body tells him to scream and flee, but he remains immobile. When he tries to get a different instructor, she tells him that training begins tomorrow and ignores him. She walks out, giving Tong the instruction to reveal Yusato the location. With a smirk, the bandit group informs him of how terrible his life will be now that Rose is going to be his teacher. He will, in essence, be going to hell. Yusato worries about everything during the night, but eventually he comes to the conclusion that worrying is pointless and goes to sleep. Hope you enjoyed the anime recap, and if you did, please show us love by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing to the channel. Click on the video showing on the screen for more contents like this, and I will see you over there. Arigatou.